From his favorite tracks to race on, to what he does in his free time, here are some of the most interesting things you didn't know about the F1 sensation, Charles Leclerc. Let's begin with his dominance in Formula 2. It was the inaugural season of the Formula 2 World Championship in 2017, and Leclerc just burst onto the scene. Right after graduating from GP3, Leclerc won the F2 championship on his first try. The dude was clearly destined for greatness. Just listen to the crazy numbers he put up that season. He won 7 races and started in the pole position 8 times. Those are championship-winning numbers right there. Leclerc became only the second driver to win that title in his rookie season, with the first being Nico Hülkenberg. It was a dream introduction for him to the world of Formula racing, but his introduction to Ferrari wasn't an easy one. Ferrari was taking a big risk by signing the Monegasque. The 2018 and 2019 seasons saw teams betting on young drivers a lot. The team that started it all was Red Bull, who made Max Verstappen their #1 driver. And as y'all know, nothing's too straight away or simple with Ferrari. Plus, sometimes it can get really frustrating being a Ferrari fan. I mean, everyone knows about how they reject conventional tactics out of stubbornness so many times. I mean, last season was full of it. Everyone knew Ferrari wasn't gonna follow in the steps of all the other teams. Until they did. They announced Charles as their new driver after he spent only 1 season in F1. It was a huge risk, but everyone knows how it turned out to be. Charles achieved his potential at Ferrari and showed fans what he's made of. Speaking of achieving their full potential, someone close to him didn't. I'm talking about Leclerc's godfather, Jules Bianchi. Yep, I can bet a lot of you didn't know about this, but Leclerc's the godson of Jules Bianchi. He was a superb talent, and if it wasn't for his tragic death at the Japanese GP in 2014, Jules would have achieved so many things in F1. Bianchi was only halfway through his second season in F1 when he died in that horrific crash. Jules has always been an inspiration for Leclerc, and he's the reason why Leclerc always wanted to drive for Ferrari. They were Bianchi's favorite team after all. Unfortunately, Jules never got the chance to fulfill his dream of racing for Ferrari, but now his godson's doing it for him. Though the death of his godfather wasn't the last tragedy Leclerc had to go through, because his dad passed away in 2017. In 2017, when Leclerc dominated the Formula 2 championship, his dad lost his life. Just 2 days before he was about to race in Baku, he got to know about the news. He passed away after being ill for a long time. Driving's in the DNA of his family, as his dad was a racing driver too. He used to race in the Formula 3 category in the 80s and 90s. Now, back to Charles. He'd go on to race in Baku and win. It was a display of sheer class from him. He showed that when you're mentally strong, nothing can distract you from being successful. Leclerc eventually went on to win the World Championship and dedicated it to his father. It was truly a beautiful moment. Now, I've already told you so many facts about him, but the next one will surely blow your mind. Leclerc's a Twitch streamer. You heard that right. Formula 1's taken its gaming simulation to the next level, and many young F1 drivers have chosen this as a new way to interact with their fans. They stream their live gaming on platforms like YouTube and Twitch, and Leclerc has also followed the steps of those drivers. Out of the two, his favorite platform is Twitch, and people love what he does on the screen. Like, he's got just over 860,000 followers on Twitch. He must be doing something right, but he's not just playing games for fun. As competitive as he is on the track, he's equally competitive in gaming as well. Charles won the first ever virtual Grand Prix series against drivers like Lando Norris, George Russell, and Alex Albon. So gaming's one of his most favorite things to do. Speaking of favorites, Leclerc's still after this one thing that he loves: the number 7 on his car. Since his first day in Formula 1, Charles has always wanted to see the number 7 on his car, but it wasn't possible in his inaugural season because it was taken by Kimi Räikkönen. He then decided to settle for the number 10, but unfortunately, it was also taken by Pierre Gasly. Charles then finally decided to go for the number 16 for his car, and the reason for it's quite funny actually. He said that the sum of 1 and 6 equals 7, so that's why he chose 16. Good thinking. Also, I have some good news for Leclerc as well. Raikkonen's number 7 will be available from the 2024 season. That's when he should go for it and finally have it on his car. Now, back to Gasly. Did you guys know about his and Leclerc's friendship? Because the two are very close friends. In fact, the kind of friendship Leclerc has with Gasly, he doesn't have one with any other driver on the grid. Leclerc's someone who has no enemies on the track. He gets along well with all the drivers. Leclerc's a good guy, but his friendship with Gasly is special. These two have known each other for a long time, since they were 6 years old to be exact. And what's more, it's not just the two of them. Their families are quite close to each other as well, as they even go out on vacations together. And the two have been racing together since they were pretty young. But do you know when's the first time Leclerc ever got his hands on a Formula 1 car? It was in 2016. He was still driving in Formula 3 at the time, but lucky for him, he had the chance to get behind the wheels of an F1 car at Practice 1 of the British GP, which is one of his favorite tracks. Rumors were already flowing at the time that Charles would move up to F1 after the end of the season, but that didn't happen. He was expected to join the Haas F1 team, but they completely denied those rumors. Nonetheless, he got to drive an F1 car, which is something he dreamed of since he was a kid. Speaking of his favorite tracks, Leclerc isn't a big fan of circuits. He loves racing on city tracks instead. Tracks like Singapore, Monaco, and Baku are the ones that excite Charles the most. In an interview, he admitted that these are his top 3 tracks to drive on. These are the tracks on which the margin of error is close to none, and Leclerc just lives for moments like these. He likes testing himself in the most difficult conditions, and that's why he's such an amazing driver. But did you know how old Leclerc was when he first started driving? He was only 3 years old. Leclerc was never a big fan of going to school and studying. One day, his father took him to meet with Jules Bianchi's father. Leclerc and Jules' father, Philippe, were very close friends. Fortunately for Charles, the meeting spot turned out to be a go-karting track. That was the day when Leclerc drove a kart for the first time and instantly fell in love with it. That session ignited the spark within him, and the rest is, of course, history. That's all from me on the things you didn't know about Charles Leclerc.